The mentor experience is great because he was able to pull the crap out of me and help me figure out what was actually holding me back. Because at the end of the day, a lot of us can acquire the skill. Skills are actually easy. That's just a repetition thing. Get somebody to, look at your stuff. But the skill part can only be as good as the mindset part and how you see things, how you are emotionally, and how you handle problems. So we were able to determine I had, things like problems like rejection. I'm not certain about myself. I mean, after growing up years and years of being made fun of, beat up, and told to go back home, this stuff sticks with you. And my dad, he didn't know any better because he grew up in a family that was even, worse. All he knew was whenever I made a mistake, he just called me stupid as a pig. Don't make me embarrass you in front of everybody. So you grow up with all this stuff that you don't know. And then a good mentor can ask you the questions and surgically basically bring the stuff out of you. And then, okay, like this stuff is holding you back. You're better than this. Let's work together on overcoming this so you can show up to your fullest potential.
Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Cumberbatch of OmarCumberbatch.com. Really excited for you to join me today as we dive into some of my favorite topics, which is mindset and the entrepreneurial journey. So one of the things that I was really excited about today's guest is that he has an amazing origin story and so much that he had to overcome to really get into this space and thrive, teaching coaches how to write copy, and he's written over 30 different email funnels and sales pages for influencers in the health and wellness space. So he's right up our alley, someone who we're going to get a lot of information from and really help us get a maximum amount of benefit from what he's going to deliver today. As always, please leave a rating and review so I can continuously get awesome guests like Kevin on the show. And of course, please take a look at my website, OmarCumberbatch.com, and you can take a peek at the course. It's doing really well, getting a lot of feedback. I'm going to start putting out some reviews so that we all know exactly what the purchasers have been getting out of it. So I'm really excited about that and sharing that with you. And please, of course, if it's not you who wants to start a podcast and you know somebody who's interested in it, tell them take a peek as well. So appreciate you, of course, listening as always. Let's jump into the show. Hey, Kevin, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thanks so much, Omar, for having me, and can't wait to share the goodness to your audience. For me, obviously, you can hear I'm doing fantastic. Just fantastic today.
No, great. I'm so excited to drop some mindset bombs on the audience. It's really one of my favorite things. I mean, I always have my own personal money story, and I know that you have an amazing upbringing, right? I saw some of the things that you've had to overcome, including your father, right? You had some issues at school because of your background and stuff. Mm-hmm. I was like, I wish I would have been your buddy back then. I would have been right by your side. I hate that bully stuff.
Could have used the buddy.
Oh man, yeah, it's a tough time, so I'm just curious in all your prior life experiences. So tell us a little bit about how you overcame some of that stuff, and specifically, how did that help you in your business acumen?
Yeah, so we'll go to the first question, and maybe you're going to need to repeat the second question because I might forget. Sure. So the first part is, how did I overcome all of that? It was a lot of work. Don't do it alone. Kind of like what you said before, being Asian in school, growing up in school in the late 80s, early 90s, there was racism. There's 3 Asian kids at my elementary. My parents came from China during the Mao Zedong era. So that was for those that don't know, it's like a communist era where they basically want to make everybody equal, and they're very hard on the people who had money. And my mom's family, because my grandpa was a business owner, he had 3 metal shops, and they seized 2 of them. They were able to sell one before the rise. But the crazy thing is, they took all their furniture in their house, the Red Guard came in, took all their furniture, threw it out on the street for everybody to see, and burnt it all, and be like, see, these people are equal. They're not better than you. Wow. And yeah, so it's crazy. So anyways, I digress. They immigrated from China, or at least my mom was able to get out, and like literally with the clothes on her back. The first moment she could hop on a plane and nobody's watching, she
Mm,
got out. And they didn't speak any English. And I was born and in '83, and they only knew what they know. They knew to take care of me, feed me, make sure I don't get hurt, and
hmm.
put me into schools. So for 5 years, I didn't know any English. Like I just pieced it together from Sesame Street.
Really?
And even playing around with kids in the neighborhood, it was hard to find friends because you don't speak. And when you do speak, you kind of like do a little Chinglish, we call it, Chinese and a little bit of English. And then you get made fun of, and then you don't become friends because you're different.
Mm,
And then we went to school, grade five. And so it's made fun of pretty much, made fun of a little bit, but it really poured on when I was in grade about three or so. And I can only remember this because I've had therapy and mindset coaching ever since I started my business to get over this stuff. So I was made fun of every day and beat up every day. And basically, I was rejected. I was rejected for the longest time.
mm,
And how did I overcame that? Like, you don't know what you don't know back then about all the childhood stuff, experience. It could be as bad as mine, being bullied, being due to racism and hearing those words. But when you open your own business, and I did in 2009, I left my corporate soul sucking job
mm, mhm.
and just jumped in there because I felt the pull that I was meant for something better than to line somebody else's pockets, than to work my butt off and suddenly be fired like my director was. She like literally slept with the BlackBerry back then when Blackberries were cool, under the pillow. And she just fired one day. I'm like, oh. And she like gave me so much opportunity. And I'm like, no way. I'm not having somebody dictate my vacations, how much I make, my value, of when I leave. No, I'm going to take control of that. So in 2009, I jumped into fitness because actually from 2007 to 2009, I was just using my vacation time to go to nutrition conferences and certifications and strength and conditioning stuff anyways. But it was
Mm,
all for myself because I loved it. And I took all that knowledge and I was just training some friends, starting small like we all do. And then I jumped into business. 2009 is when it all started. And then through my journey from 2009 until now, it's like, wow, like Omar, when you open up your own business, it is like personal development on steroids. The
mhm.
stuff that you have hidden, you've been able to suppress, emotionally shut off, whatever, that stuff comes out. That stuff
Yeah.
comes out when you open your business. Um, and to your question, how did I overcome that? Like I didn't really start overcoming that until after 2 years or so in my business.
Mhm.
And kind of like how I led my people, meaning clients and my staff and all that. And like, there's just so much you need to do in your business. You're not only the coach coaching your clients. At that time, it was in a brick and mortar, but you are also doing the finances. You're also doing projections. You're doing the marketing. You're doing the sales. You're doing the onboarding. Like, there's just so much. And then every bit of that, especially the marketing part, which I found the hardest because I had to show up. I had to be the guy, the front guy, sharing my stuff on Facebook when it just first came out, and posting and just being myself. And all that I hid behind academics. And then somebody would just said, "Is like, yeah, your stuff is really good, but I just don't get it. It just feels cold."
Mm.
And I'm like, okay. So there, just, I figured, okay, how do I write better? How do I not be cold and all that stuff? And then also like when you get people pressing back at you, staff or whatever challenging you, your stuff you've kind of repressed kind of come out and how you handle stuff. And then, they leave or they're unhappy. And then you're kind of wondering what the hell is going on. It kind of really amplifies all that. So, from there, it wasn't until 2016 when I had my first mentor.
Oh, wow. So, what was a big game changer about mentorship? I know that's one of the things that I like to dive into because we are health coaches and we expect other people to take to hire us as coaches, and a lot of times we don't even have our own coaches. So, tell us
Yeah.
about that experience of getting a mentor.
Yeah. Our first mentor actually is sort of places the value like you, mindset. Like I didn't really understand it at that time in around 2016. Like the biggest thing is mindset. What holds people back is mindset. And then I kind of got it, but I didn't really get it, right? And
Mm,
a book that you recommended was from Carol Dweck, I think Growth Mindset and Fixed Mindset. That was kind of my first exposure onto it. And then there's a lot more around that. So the mentor experience is great because he was able to pull the crap out of me and help me figure out what was actually holding me back. Because at the end of the day, a lot of us can acquire the skill. Skills are actually easy. That's just a repetition thing. Get somebody to, look at your stuff. But the skill part can only be as good as the mindset part and how you see things, how you are emotionally, and how you handle problems. So we were able to determine I had, things like problems like rejection.
yeah.
I'm not certain about myself. I mean, after growing up years and years of being made fun of, beat up, and told to go back home, this stuff sticks with you. And my dad, he didn't know any better because he grew up in a family that was even, worse. Um, he all he knew was whenever I made a mistake, he just called me stupid, stupid as a pig. Don't make me embarrass you in front of everybody. So
Mm,
you grow up with all this stuff that you don't know, and then a mentor a good mentor can ask you the questions and surgically basically bring this stuff out of you. And then, okay, like this stuff is holding you back. You're better than this. Let's work together on like overcoming this so you can show up to your fullest potential.
mm. So, yeah, that's an amazing story, and it looks, even though it probably didn't feel like you kind of got past the stuff relatively quickly. So, is that accurate, or am I
No,
missing
it was a
it?
process. It was a
Yeah.
process. Now, make it sound like it's quick, but no, it was a process because you get the mindset work done and
Mm,
then you got to go do the thing in your business to be able to grow. And
mhm,
then doing the thing, like the uncomfortable thing, like hiding or just going back to busy work, right? Where we can easily hide instead of confronting the thing that allows me to grow. That's where the feedback kind of came. And, you follow up with me and like, did you do this thing? Ah, no, I'll do it like next week. And then they're like, no, we're going to do this thing or say this thing, send this email to a client who's been, very pain in the butt. So it was a lot of growth in terms of doing the thing and not doing the thing and procrastinating, and then getting somebody to just pull you and drag you through the mud to because they know you have the potential.
mhm,
Um, so yeah, it was quite a process. Even now it's different because I've had a lot of mentors at different stages. So which is why I put a lot of emphasis, just kind of like yourself, into like the mindset piece, because our businesses and ourselves, we can only grow as much as our capabilities to lead, handle problems, handle people, and handle ourselves.
mhm. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So before we jump into like the hardcore mindset stuff, there was one point in your life where you did, after you owned those gyms,
Mhm.
that you made an additional transition out of that space because of you lost your passion for it. And I thought this was a really courageous moment in your life where you just took a leap of faith, and while your wife was pregnant, and you were
Yeah.
obviously leaving your main source of income, which is another incredible mindset jump. Can you just talk about that really quick, and just tell a little bit of the story behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, yeah, so I had the gyms from 2009 to 2017, and we grew that one gym into two gyms. Obviously, there's kind of a lot of stuff in between. So during this journey, I thought I wanted this, big expansion. I wanted a big team and all that stuff. And and at the end of the day, you built this monster that you just weren't aligned with. I had business partners as well back then, and we weren't aligned with some of their views. And they weren't directly involved in gym in terms of operations. They're kind of more like a board members at that time. So I got really frustrated with that, and I just got tired of it. Like, I got 18 employees. I got partners that don't agree. And then I had to ask myself, do I actually also like doing this stuff?
Mm,
And, I was kind of battling back and forth because I was so attached. Like, well, this stuff is provided for us. Me and my girlfriend at the time, it's provided for us. Upgrades in apartments and all that stuff, being able to travel. You just get so attached to it, and then it kind of clouds your judgment. So, I believe that decisions are actually made by the body and what you feel, right? The head is there just to gather information and process it and organize it. So, pulling on that, I would found myself, I was actually drinking every day for 3 months in the summer. A little swig of scotch, a little swig of whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And, here I am. And now syndrome kind of gets in. Here I am, like fitness guy and all that, like doing this stuff. But in terms of who I am, I'm like, that's not me. Like, what is this? And then I started to pinpoint, it's just my heart's not into it anymore. And then secondly, my wife, she was, as I said, pregnant at the time. In fact, she was like 3 months out in the summer, she was actually about 5 months out from giving birth. And, that made me really realign what I actually wanted. Because I'm driving to the gym in the morning, I'm coming back. Yeah, sometimes I can come back at 3, but most times I'm coming back at 6 or 7, whether it be from putting out fires, taking late clients, or whatever that is. So those really drove the decisions of like what I really wanted. I had to decide first. Did
Mm-hmm.
that answer your question, Omar?
No, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I just give you a lot of credit for switching gears like that. And it's like I said, it just tells a testament to your character and your bravery to do that in that situation and really just jump into another field. And that's kind of I think where like our health coaches are right now. They're kind of maybe they're in an industry they're not happy with and they want to take on health coaching full time. What would you think would be the first step that they should actually take when they're embarking on an entrepreneurial journey? And maybe what was the
Yeah.
first step you took?
The first step that I took was first off, have the courage, like to believe in yourself that you are worthy and people do need your genius,
Hmm.
right? That belief in yourself is the very first thing. And that's kind of why I like walked away from the gyms and I started with $0 online with 30 days to pay the bills.
Mm.
And I basically took, you know, hey, my heart might not be on this. And even though I spent almost like $30,000 over 7 years to learn all this stuff, but I know I started with nothing, a line of credit, and built the gym from one gym to two gyms. Those principles actually apply. And some of those principles we're going to share in a sec here. So the first thing that I did was have belief in myself. Belief that not just like I can do this, but belief I can acquire the skills to be able to do it and go after it.
Mm.
So that's the number one thing. Now the tactical thing. The
Mm.
tactical thing is the online, there's a lot of opportunity out there. Like, we have clients even with recession. Like I have this girl in the UK, man, dude, she's like pulling in between 35 to 45,000 pounds a month selling a 2,000 pound program. And inflation in the UK is insane. So
Mm.
it's like opportunities out there, but we
Yeah.
have to believe in ourselves to get it. But after that, we have to understand who we're talking to. We
Mm.
have to understand who we're talking to. I call these avatar psychographics. They're different from demographics. Demographics are age, what they like for TV. Do they watch Real Housewives or do they like Bachelor?
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Not that kind of stuff. What they do for job, like those stuff is useful, like especially when you're targeting for ads and all that stuff. But it's not useful for creating content to shift beliefs to get them to invest into you. So psychographics is actually comprised of understanding their values. What are their values? Their top 5 values. Because the reason why people buy and why people keep searching is because the value continually is violated.
Mm.
And how they make decisions is also based off values. Why you? Why you versus the other person, right? So that's kind of the first thing to start that know, like, and trust factor. The second thing is traits. You have to know somebody's personality traits. So if somebody's type A and they like to be in control of things, don't start posting stuff making them feel bad because their ego is going to resist that,
Interesting. Yeah.
and they're just gonna ignore it, right? What they really want, like this is innate psychology, is they, even though they have the problem, they still don't want to admit they're wrong. Stubborn.
Yeah.
Ego is stubborn. So start posting stuff about scenarios that they want of where they want to be, how they can be better, right? So this is why it's important to know traits because now it drives the feel of our content and our messaging and also shifting the beliefs. And then the third thing is understanding, obviously, the ego, right? Are they overconfident or are they fearful? So, for example, if you deal with fertility, if you're a fertility coach, you cannot do the same messaging as somebody who does weight loss because fertility, the ego is more fearful. They've been burnt in terms of like what they've gone through, the experiences of
Mhm.
miscarriages and all that. You need to
Mhm.
lift them up compared to somebody on weight loss, which you can possibly have some people that are overconfident, and we got to kind of shift their belief to admit that they're wrong, right?
Mhm.
So the ego is very important. So what do we got here? We got values, we got traits, we got ego, and what's their mindset at? What is their mindset at? Because their mindset is their beliefs. So if let's just take weight loss for example, if they've been on all these different diets and they're overwhelmed, they're busy, right? Based off their profile, values and what they do for work and all that. Don't give them more information that they need to sort out. Give
Mhm.
them clarity to what is actually works for them specifically, right? So that's part of their mindset. The other mindset piece is like, how do they handle problems? What do they create meaning out of? So a very common content thing that I see people write is talking about how, oh, because, they've gained 20 pounds, they can't find anything where they don't go out to social events and they just sit at home drinking wine and watching Netflix. Okay. That's a possibility, but that is for one type of person maybe a little bit less go-getter. But if you're after like sophisticated people who's a go-getter, maybe a director, whatever, that's who you're after, that person will take the same problem, but they're going to go out. But however, they're probably going to do different things, maybe starve themselves the next day, maybe just eat a little bit, right? So we have the same problem, two things, but that's all based off mindset. So we have to know that as well. So those are all avatar psychographics.
Yeah, no, I thought that term was really interesting. That's the one that popped out to me. So to get to the psychographics, you have to know who you're pitching to begin with, correct? Like what you are, right? So like if you're a weight loss coach, you have to know who
Mhm.
your actual niche is. What about the health
That's
coach?
correct.
Yeah, what about the health coach who doesn't know their niche particularly before you can jump into the psychographic?
All right.
Any tips
So,
on that?
yeah, we want to. So I did skip an extra step. So, yeah, you got to know your niche first because weight loss is just so big now, right?
Yeah.
And a niche, for those that don't know, is like a weight loss and a subset of that weight loss. Like, what are you specializing in? So, I take into account when people are trying to pick their niche, it's first off, like, don't be like me and stay in something until you're drinking every day and, then you're having another baby before you decide to jump off somewhere else. Go to what you feel pulled to. What is a full body yes when you say, I want to be known for X? And do you
Mhm.
feel that like, yes, I want to be known for like helping women over 40 overcome menopause so that they can be themselves again like they were in 21? If that makes you feel good, go for it. That's actually the start. And there's evidence of this. So now it's evidence because I know that a lot of health coaches are academics. So you look back, okay, look back at your past clients that you've helped. Look back at maybe even the stuff you read. Like, what would you naturally read about, anyways, and geek out on? Who are the clients you really love solving that problem with? And that will give you clues to where you want to go in terms of niching down.
hmm No, that's great advice. I know it's a big struggle. Was definitely one of my struggles for years. I personally had that feeling that if I picked a niche, that I wouldn't be able to help people outside of that small little market, and I just didn't feel right about that. So it was
Mm,
definitely an emotional connect.
yeah.
Like reject, almost rejecting that kind of just not helping everybody, which is a is a big deal to me at least.
Yeah, that is a big deal, like not to yourself, even to me as a nutrition coach. I help everybody because I know everything. But it kind of goes into, okay, reframing that for yourself. Who can I serve to get the best results to make actual transformations?
hmm
And not only that is what do I want out of my life? So if I'm trying to help everybody, wow, imagine your brain switching from gut health to fertility health to like weight loss and diabetes. And then it's like you come out at the end of the day and you're all like freaking frazzled. And then
Right.
then you can't be present with your family, right? So I think coaches, health coaches need to also tie that with what kind of lifestyle you want. Because if you're jumping into entrepreneurship, that is a lot of reward, but we can't just think about the work and the money. It's also what kind of life will it give you and what you need to focus on so that you can be great at what you do, but also leave space in your head and emotions for your family.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I love it. One of the things that also popped out about you, and given your story, especially your difficulty with the language, you turned out to be a really
Oh,
impressive copywriter, right?
yeah.
How the hell did that happen?
Weirdest thing, hey? Like, guy that was an ESL, didn't speak English until he was 5. And actually, I was bad through English my whole school career, like even in college. And I actually failed my diploma. They call them diploma exams here, where it's worth 50% of your mark. I failed that, but luckily I had a
Okay.
high enough grade and hustle and all that. But anyways, like, how did I get good? Because I really sucked at something. I was terrible, and I knew that like communication, like just how well we're having is super important. Like, how the heck are people supposed to understand you? How are you supposed to get what you want if you can't communicate? So I knew that was important. So it was a priority. So after college, actually not even after college, it's actually when I started my businesses. I went on a journey to understand the art of communication and influence. So when you suck at so bad at something, there are little nuances that you have to overcome, like certain words have a certain belief tied to it. You don't want to use it, how they're all paired together in terms of what kind of emotion it creates, like leadership and curiosity, neutrality. I had to learn all those like small things. And then how do you put your energy into like the words that have energy into it? So I had to learn all these small nuances along the way. And it was, some of it was through myself. And then more so of it was, surprise, surprise, hiring mentors. And then, but not blindly following formulas and all that. I put my own intuition in there. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. This doesn't work for me. So trying to like put my own intuition in there and the things I need to overcome to create, the perfect sales page or post.
Yeah, no, really, really great comeback story as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, so let's just, I know that we were promised to keep you here about 30 to 40 minutes. And I know that, again, being that your mindset approach is the strong suit. Tell us about your approach with the mindset and how you get the results for your clients when it comes
Mhm.
to business in the mindset.
Yeah, great question. Let's go with that because that was the first thing before I jumped into into my own business is having that belief and that mindset. So how we do with our clients, because I see now going through all the struggles and all that stuff, building these businesses is business is like a feedback loop. So I learn the thing, I get told the thing, I got to go do it. Now something happens in the
Mhm.
business.
Yes.
So the very first thing, there's three things that coaches need to really cultivate, and you just can't read a book and just go do it. Like you have to have some kind of thing that gives you feedback. So it's certainty is one thing that we need to cultivate. It's like a muscle. We would need to work on it every day. It's certainty in yourself, certainty in your process, certainty that there's opportunity that you can get to. Okay. Why
Mhm.
not you? Why not you can make 45K a month?
Right.
Next is projection. Projection is more of a perspective. I just call it projection because what we project onto our audience, onto a sales call for high ticket sales. So if we project a wanting always, so lead comes in and into your group or wherever your platform, your Instagram following, what is your first perspective of that? Is it, oh, how do I sell this person? How do I get them on the call? Okay. So that's a wanting.
Hmm.
If they're on a call, everything you say, well, what do I say next so that they're going to buy? What do I say next so that they're going to do this? So now we're coming from a place that's transactional because we want something. We want something because we feel lack versus a leading. Somebody comes in instead of, how can I sell? How can I lead this person? How can I serve this person so that they can reach their highest potential. I'm going to ask some questions that's going to challenge this person so that they can make decisions from their higher self, right? So we got to be careful what we're projecting. We can call it perspective. I call it projecting. Okay. Even on the sales call, people say, "Oh, I got so many financial questions or financial objections." Well, are you thinking about the financial objection? Are you thinking about the objection and just waiting for it? Well, you're projecting instead of
Mhm.
leading. Last one, values. We need to be clear on our values, and values isn't going and finding a piece of paper and going, "Oh, this sounds good and that sounds good." Being clear on your values is super important because it sets your priorities, it sets your boundaries, and it sets how you operate and how you show up online to attract the right people. What are values? Values are actually based off your actions and what triggers you. Those are huge clues. So if you value family, that means family is a priority over one of another thing. So if you get a call, like for example, in this podcast interview, I get a call from daycare, Emmy is vomiting everywhere,
Mhm.
and we need you to take her to the hospital because we can't. Okay. So based off values, I can either go, "Sorry, Omar, I gotta go. I super apologize, and I'm gone." Number two could be, "Oh, can you guys take care of that? I'm in a podcast interview, or you're calling whatever, grandpa or grandma, can you go pick them up?" Right? So that is a sign of a value of, let's say, more work, your craft or whatever, but it's not family. That's for sure. And also what triggers you. Look back to who's made you mad by their actions. That is part of your value because your value is now being violated. So those three things are super important when it comes to mindset. Belief in yourself, not projecting, and your values guide you so that you're aligned in everything that you do.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's a powerful way to approach it. And so when you're working with your clients, in essence, you're really just trying to reinforce those three components so that they're able to step out and actually be successful in their
Yeah,
business.
yeah, yeah. And then may I just share how we do that?
Yeah, yeah, that definitely that was my next question.
So obviously there's more to it, but this is the basics. Okay, you
Mhm.
gotta have this. Think of this as an anchor. Okay, anchoring
Right.
you back every day, filling your mind and your being of this thing. We call it morning priming document, and we make everybody do it. Anytime I hear verbiage that's self-defeating on a coaching call, or when people's minds jump to problems versus opportunity, did you do your morning priming? Most of the time it's no. And the ones who do are like, one of our clients like Louise doing like 45,000 pounds a month.
Mhm.
So the morning priming consists of writing the first page or two. I mean, this is also custom to you. Like, don't let anybody influence but you. It should make you feel good or solid. So the
Mhm.
first page is all about talking about yourself in the third person. And
Mm.
you're talking about yourself in the third person of who you're becoming, who you're getting to, okay? Because this person isn't going to get you there. Because if I was Kevin, the guy that was picked on bad at English and then labeled myself the whole time, I would not be here. I would be whatever the results you get from that person.
Right,
But
right.
who's that person that you need to be? Okay, write that down. Right, so it could be Kevin is a sought after mentor and consultant for coaches, and he does all these things. This is how I think. This is how I solve problems. This is how I react to problems. This is how I view the world, and this is what I have. Just write it all down, like a little story. Should be a page.
Mhm.
And then the next thing I have them do is write down their values. Okay, the values is important because you need to remind yourself because they are crossed and you might not even know it if you don't fill your head with that kind of stuff. Now, the boundaries could be crossed by people, of clients, or they could be crossed by partners, they could be crossed by, I don't know, staff, whomever. But you got to write down your top five values and you got to write down when is that boundary crossed? Okay,
Mhm.
when do you actually need to stand in leadership? And then, like back off. You've crossed the boundary. Now we're going to correct that. The next thing is we have affirmations. Affirmations is basically just, it's not affirmations because you can be like, "Hey, I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire." And then your subconscious is like, "No, you're not." Stop being, I mean, stop being an idiot. But affirmations can be like, it's a question. It's a question phrased positively in the future. How am I making $15,000 a month so easily? How am I getting my clients results so easily? And you sit with that for about a minute or two. Sometimes it's two affirmations you, sometimes it's one. And then your brain we'll search for those answers and we'll find evidence of that. Oh, it's because you do this, it's because you do that, and you sit with that. So it
Mm-hmm.
solidifies in you. After affirmations, now I have affirmations, but the affirmations need to be brought to a level to where it feels realistic. Okay, maybe you're not a millionaire, but you feel you can make 100K or 120K in a year. Then just say that.
Mm-hmm.
So that will now get you certainty because you got somebody in the third person that you're saying, I'm this is how I think and all that stuff. You have certain values, you know when they're being crossed. And then you have all these affirmations and affirmations that you're doing to solidify that identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Listen, I think that's amazing. It's a great way to approach it. But I definitely want to give you an opportunity how we can learn more. I think you're definitely a guest I want to have you back on because I think we could dive into this.
Oh, I'm honored.
Yeah, big time. Because I love again, I love the mindset stuff. So in this next two seconds, can you just jump in and tell us where we can find more about you, your social media handles, your website, anything that we could keep abreast of what your mindset teachings have in store for us?
I'm most active on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Clients Through Connection. That is where I do all the trainings from mindset to like how to show up in your content to enrolling new high ticket clients. So you can find me there, or you can find me on my profile, Kevin Kwan, mentor. There's another Kevin Kwan who's an author who wrote Crazy Rich Asians. I'm not that person, so don't get confused. And then on my Instagram handles, the Kevin Kwan _
Excellent. All right, Kevin, thanks so much for dropping all that knowledge on us today. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. If you did, jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and or review. It goes a long way in helping get this message out to our fellow health coaches and people in our industry. Also, if you can, jump over to my website, omarcumberbatch.com, where I give out a lot of freebies, including my 5-day sugar challenge for people who are having issues with sugar. And also for health coaches, I have the book, Hidden. It's the 6 not so obvious ways to get your clients unstuck. Have a great day.